Way better.
Cool.
Right.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
We're gonna get started over here. Feel free to just find a spot to stand, or if you want to sit or whatever.
Agree to sit on the floor.
Yeah, this is
We
usually
all
like
sit
the
Let's do like a
zone.
group huddle.
Yeah, yeah. So this is on Instagram Live.
Oh,
So
okay.
hello, little internet people on my phone. Sorry for the giant tripod in the middle of the zone here, but just it's more scary to you than you are of it. And it's not going to be like turned around or anything, so you're not like going to be seen or anything, but you might be heard if you speak up. Okay, welcome. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you all for coming. My name is Artemis. I use she/they pronouns, as you can tell. And I'm going to talk a little bit about bisexuality today. I'm going to first shout out today's sponsor. Everybody who came to the store today got a couple little products from Xsense. It's a women-owned, small production lube and body oil company in Canada. And they're sponsoring our workshops, so thank you, Xsense. And everybody today got a white peach flavored, edible, warming body massage oil. And had a choice of either a raspberry flavored water-based lubricant or an aloe vera based water-based lubricant. So, yay, Xsense, thank you. Yes, lots of applause. Also, everyone who came today and anybody who watches online, there's going to be a discount code for people that see the workshop. So I'm going to say it at the end of the workshop. And you'll get 10% off everything in the store and everything online until Sunday at 11:59 p.m.
Wow.
You get your purchases in before the weekend. Okay. So, bisexuality. What's the deal? What's the deal? Or I'm doing like a stand-up thing. I was talking to my friend about doing this workshop, and they were like, what's like the workshop part? Like, what are you gonna... Like, it's not like a knot tying workshop where you're going to learn, like, and I was like, well, everyone's going to turn to their right and kiss somebody, and then turn to their left, and then you're bisexual, and then we did it. No, okay, so this is going to be more like, obviously, like theory, and talking about some of the, like, unique challenges and stereotypes and experiences that bisexual people might go through. So first, a little bit of history. The word bisexual was coined in the 19th century, actually at the same time as hetero and homosexual. And a big benchmark in the sexological study of bisexuality came in the 1940s when a researcher named Alfred Kinsey studied homosexual activity in men and developed what he called the Kinsey scale. Maybe we've heard of this. So I drew one. So here's the Kinsey scale. And the Kinsey scale basically said that if you experience exclusively heterosexual attraction, then you're a 0. And if you experience exclusively homosexual attraction, you're a 6. And then if you're anywhere in the middle, you can like fall somewhere in here. Obviously, this is not a perfect system. What do we think are some issues with this?
There's no nuance.
There's no nuance. It's very literally one linear dimension, right?
Mm.
What else?
Yeah, I would just look at what those
Yeah, why are we trying to like put a number on? Yeah, it feels like you're trying to get a high score. Like I see this and I'm like, I want to do the best job. I want to get like an A, you know, I want to get the highest score. Also, he only studied men. So what's that about? What's going on there?
Probably how we all miss that.
I will say, shout out to him, he discovered that like something crazy, like 48% of his participants had some level of homosexual experience. Like there were some parameters like post-adolescence and having reached orgasm, which I think is really funny. That like he was like, if you just kiss, it's fine, but like if you finish, you're gay now. Okay, so this was the Kinsey scale. This was kind of like early attempts at putting people into these boxes. Now we have a lot more language, a lot more visibility, a lot more communication about sexuality and gender and da-da-da-da. And so now today we're going to be talking about multisexuality. And multisexuality is just attraction to more than one gender. And that's as opposed to monosexuality, which would be like being straight, gay, or lesbian, right? In like strict terms. So bisexuality, I found a definition that I like from a bisexual activist and theorist and writer called Robin Oakes. And she says, bisexuality is the potential to be attracted romantically and or sexually to people of more than one sex and or gender, not necessarily at the same time, not necessarily in the same way, and not necessarily to the same degree. So there's a lot of caveats with that, right? And people wonder why we're confused. I think it's kind of part of the value of that definition that it's so amorphous. Human behavior and human sexuality, and this is something I'm going to come back to throughout this little talk, is something that really eludes neat categorization and labeling. Despite bisexuality and queerness of all kinds being present in recorded history literally as far back as we can see, we're still trying to like pin it to something and name it and put it in a box and say, okay, this is something we understand now, this is normal or not, right? Like all this. So that's the working definition of bisexuality. I want to make a distinction from bisexuality meaning attracted to both genders, right? I think this is like a recent discourse that's been happening as we have a greater understanding and literacy in gender theory. The implication that the bi in bisexual would imply that there's two distinct genders and you are attracted to one or the other or both. Okay. We're trying to move away from that. So bisexuality is like an umbrella that can still fit many other labels under it, such as pansexuality, which is kind of an attempt to get around that association with the two genders, right? So pansexuality from pan, meaning all, it's defined as attraction to people regardless of their gender. So this is like trying to get around that a little bit. And then there's a lot of there's a million, I mean, I could spend the next hour like talking about labels, but I want to just hit queer. Queer is a really big term that covers a lot of bases. It, like in its strictest sense, is just an identity outside of heterosexuality. But because of its status as like a reclaimed slur, it has political weight still. And there's a like ever relevant quote from Bell Hooks that maybe somebody's heard about queerness that says, queer not as being about who you're having sex with, that can be a dimension of it, but queer as being about the self that is at odds with everything around it, and it has to invent and create and find a place to speak and to thrive and to live. Yes, Bell Hooks. So good. So like this idea of being queer as like a sexual orientation, but also as like a worldview and like a kind of political stance. So that's that. I want to quickly hit some people you may have heard like hetero or homoflexible. This is like a way someone might describe themselves if they're like predominantly straight, but kind of like maybe open to something. This is kind of similar to like people that are questioning or people that are bi-curious, right? This is not necessarily a spot that we're like passing through. It's not like, oh, you're bi-curious now, but then you're going to be bisexual later, or you're bi-curious now and then you're going to be gay later, right? Like it can be the destination. It can be for any amount of time or for but a night, one magic night. Also, like to identify as fluid in your sexuality would be to acknowledge that like throughout all of our lives, we are changing and growing and shifting, and all sexualities and genders are fluid and can change over the course of time, but to identify as fluid is to really like kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Accentuate that element. Also, people can describe themselves as gynosexual or androsexual. This would be, gynosexual would be like people that are attracted to like femininity or feminine energy or like femme of center people, feminine expression, which again, what the hell is even that? But and then androsexual would be people that are attracted to like masculinity or people mask of center or this, right? Also, we can talk about like sapphic is like somehow feels less binding than like lesbian, but like sapphic is like associated with lesbianism and lesbian culture. And I didn't know this until today when I looked it up, but the like gay male equivalent is Achillean.
Oh, I love that.
Of Achilles. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Gay icon, Achilles. So like, you know, personally, like I'm bisexual, I'm pansexual, but I think I sometimes identify or associate more with like sapphic spaces and sapphic energy and like kind of closer to that end of the world. And that's like where I'm more comfortable. So all of these things, all of these labels, all these words, all these vocab, all these invented things are just ways of communicating. It's not like you need to say it and then it gets like tattooed on your arm and then that has a bad Holocaust association that I didn't mean to do. But it's like, it's not like, sorry everyone, it's not like labeled and then that's it and then you have to follow all the rules of that thing. Like it can just be what you're using to describe the way you're feeling right now. Okay. Now I want to get into some bi stereotypes, some ideas that like we understand from society around bisexuality. And I wanted to start with the good stuff. So like what are like positive things? And this can be like biculture, like there's a lot of jokes online about like something being biculture. Do you guys know anything? Is there anything you associate with bisexuality that's like positive? Besides like being fun and hot and sexy and cool.
Yeah.
But like things that are like bisexual, like you can identify like, I feel really bisexual when I do this or when I see this. It's so funny. It's so funny, right?
This is going to be stupid, but I feel very bisexual when I wear Doc Martens.
Doc Martens. Doc Martens are totally biculture.
And jumpsuits.
Jumpsuits, sure. What the hell? Biculture. Also, like cuff jeans, I hear a lot, are biculture. There's jokes online about like green velvet couches or biculture. Do you have a green velvet couch? We got a live one. We have two.
I have two.
Does turquoise count as green velvet couch? Because I did have a
I'm colorblind. It counts today. Over half the room has a green velvet couch. Sitting, not knowing how to sit in a chair, like sitting weird in chairs.
Yes.
Everyone's sitting on the floor, so that doesn't. I mean, I guess technically you're not sitting in a chair. But like these things, to me, what this all says to me, like all these jokes online and all these things that we're like, that's me. I do that too. I wear Doc Martens. It's like when in the vacuum of visibility and like a strong culture, we kind of are clinging on to whatever we can get, right? And so I read this book as part of my preparation for this called Greedy, and the author talks about this tweet that she saw that was like, bisexual people will be 20 minutes into a movie and will look up cast of this. And like she was literally on IMDb and then paused the movie and was exactly 20 minutes in. And it was like the most seen she'd ever felt, you know? It's like, I think this is, again, like, you know, lesbians have Subarus and, I don't know, gay men have brunch, I guess. Everyone has brunch. But there's not, like, as rich a kind of visible, identifiable, like, thing. Okay, what about some of the negative stereotypes around bisexuality and bi people?
Not actually being queer.
Not actually being queer. Pretending, or it's a phase, or you're just...
You're not gay enough, so you don't fit in space.
Yeah, or you're not gay enough, and you're like not getting to be a part of under the queer umbrella. What else?
People like really digging into your past relationship history, trying to like turn that on you to whatever you're doing now.
Yeah. People like asking about your past relationships and trying to like
invalidate your
yeah.
sexuality.
Or you look very
you don't look gay enough, you look too straight, so.
Yeah, people that if you don't look like bi enough or gay enough.
Or partners not thinking that you can be like faithful or
Totally, yeah.
monogamous.
I have that here, incapable of monogamy. Yeah, like people, there are plenty of intentionally non-monogamous or polyamorous bi people, but the idea that if you're bi, you're gonna cheat, right, is like definitely a stereotype. What else? Any other that we can think of? I feel like there's a stereotype that bi people are like promiscuous, like bi people
Insatiable appetite.
insatiable, having threesomes with everyone all the time.
But I didn't want to mean it in
Hi.
a negative way. So
There's a stereotype that bisexuals are late all the time. This is my partner, that's why. Everyone clap for my love. Okay. Then there are stereotypes that like women are in a phase, but bisexual men are actually gay. And they're just like pretending they're in the closet, which is like the patriarchy's way of making sure that everyone's attracted to men at all times, right? Like no one could possibly not be. Also, like bi women under the male gaze, there's a lot of like kind of voyeuristic, like threesome seeking, like oh I want to watch you kiss girls, that kind of stuff.
couples looking for a unicorn.
Yeah, or couples looking for a unicorn, or just like a couple that's looking for a person, often a bisexual woman, to join their couple for
Like it's
a threesome. Like it's a toy, like it's a novelty, not like a human being. And then also we kind of started to talk about this, but getting kind of stuck between straight people and gay people. Like we're too queer for the straight people, but not gay enough for the gay people. And so then who are we dating? This comes back to this. When we put it all on a line, it feels like bisexuality is like if it's 1 to 6, it's a 3, right? It's like the middle. But in fact, bisexuality is not just a halfway point between being straight and gay. It's not just like straight plus gay. It's another thing. It's like a secret third thing called bisexuality. And people, yes, I'm spilling the beans here. That's why I like the distinction between like monosexuality and multisexual. Like to be multisexual covers a lot of bases and like makes it distinct from like it doesn't feel like it's like halfway to me as much. Okay. Also bisexuals experience a lot of invisibility, a lot of erasure, right? Then this idea of visibility, especially like if you're a bi person in like what you might call like a straight passing relationship, like this lack of visibility kind of cuts both ways. Like on the one hand, there's safety in that, right? Like in the scope of queerness, there's safety in kind of at a passing glance looking like you are the kind of normal, acceptable, right? Like whatever. But that invalidation also hurts. It's a microaggression, and that chips away, right? Like over time. And so this this issue of like visibility kind of goes both ways. There was a Pew Research Center study that only 19% of bi people are out to most of the important people in their life, and 26% of bi people say they're out to none of the important people in their life. And this is like a much lower percent than gay and lesbian people. And I think it's because there's this idea of like, well, you don't have to. You don't have to be seen or known that way. And so you just like stay in the safe spot and then nobody has to know. But the reality is it's like it can be a big part of who you are, and like that is a pressure, that is a secret you're keeping, that's hard. Okay. We talked a little bit, somebody mentioned like the idea of like qualifying as bisexual or as queer. And I feel like every queer person has a version of this. Like no one is queer enough. Like a queer lesbian is like, I don't look lesbian enough. And a gay man is like, I don't look gay enough. And every trans person I've ever met has had a time when they've been like, I don't look trans enough, right? And they don't feel like they belong in the queer community at large. And I just really want to emphasize that, like, the only checkbox you have to check off to say you're bisexual is that you are attracted to more than one gender. Not that you've kissed more than one gender, not that you've dated more than one gender, not that you've like done anything or had to prove it or done it for a certain amount of time. The attraction alone qualifies you. And that's a decision you can only make for yourself. Nobody else can tell you, like, no, you don't count yet. And there's no need to necessarily act on that acknowledgement. There's value just in the acknowledging, just in the saying it to yourself and then the world, if you want, that this is a part of who I am, is valuable. Whether you're in a straight passing relationship, whether you're single, whether whatever. That is the truth of it. The thing I think that's important about that is that in doing that and in taking on the label, you are also challenging yourself to adapt a queer point of view according to that earlier definition, right? That you are understanding yourself as somebody who is going to have to carve out a little space for themselves, right? And hopefully make a little space for other people too. The kind of, for all the things we've talked about, all the pressures that are very real, that bisexual people face, it is like, currently there's not like a lot of new legislation targeting bisexual people, right? There's not like, there's like, with the invisibility comes a certain amount of like relative safety in the label. And like there's this idea that all people are bi, which also is like biphobic, because it's like, then it's nothing, then it's not an identity. But like as a citizen of the community of queerness, all of us, all queer people, have a duty to make space for each other and support each other and uplift each other. So I challenge anyone who is like understanding themselves. I think like we've talked about like the idea of being gay but not queer, right? Like, because queer is a political stance. Like queer is a way of navigating the world that goes beyond just like who you're attracted to. But that's a soapbox for another time. Are there any questions like urgently from anybody? Is there any thoughts that we want to share? What time is it?
Almost 7.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, perfect.
I have a list of bisexual icons to finish us off. Because as invisible as bisexual people can feel, they're all around us. They could be in your home. Do you know where your bisexual is? So I just wanted to hit a few key people here. Frank Ocean, of course. Thank you, Frank. Megan Fox, iconic bisexual. Lady Gaga, another just powerful bisexual. Cardi B, Drew Barrymore, Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance, The Love of My Life. Willow Smith is bisexual. Aaron Carter, rest in peace, is bisexual. Margaret Cho, Aubrey Plaza, of course. Jason Mraz, but that really goes without saying, I think. As does Alan Cumming, I hope we all know. Angelina Jolie, I did not know that Angelina Jolie is bisexual.
Yeah.
Janelle Monáe, of course, wrote one of the greatest bisexual anthems of our time, Make Me Feel. And I had to Google this to figure out what was going on. But Bad Bunny is...
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Has shared... Well, kisses lots of people.
Yeah.
Which you're allowed to do without being bisexual, by the way. You can kiss whoever you want. But shared that he is currently fluid and is open to the idea and exploring his sexuality. And I thought that was so cool that he shared that, because that's vulnerable to share like, I don't really know, you know. So shout out to Bad Bunny. Okay, last piece of business before we go to questions and discussion stuff and end the live stream. The code that I dangled in front of the audience at the beginning is BI23, BI23. You can use that online until Sunday at midnight and get 10% off your order. You can also use it today in store. Also, everyone who came today, once again, got these wonderful products from XNs. So thank you again, XNs. And I'm just going to scroll up and make sure I didn't miss anything. Thank you, Carolyn. I love you too. It's my coworker. Somebody said Greedy is a great book. Yeah, Greedy is by Jen Winston.
That's right.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay. It's called Greedy, Notes from a Bisexual Who Wants Too Much. And it's good. Someone says, I cuff my jeans, baby. Yeah. And also says that I'm a bisexual A+ student. So thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. Thank you all online, little people, and then we'll keep talking.